It's Monday. Get your work on. Finish up your coffee. Get back to work. Now, Rachel and I were talking. I have a marketing meeting tomorrow, and the president of Meineke will be there. How about that? And it's actually a two-part meeting. One I will be involved in, and one I will not be involved in. But it's talking about driving traffic and marketing and what's going on in Philadelphia versus the rest of the world. Maybe I'll be able to bring you some content from that. But Rachel and I were talking about how we can increase the business at Meineke Cinnamons. And well, YouTube is one way, local marketing is another, national is another, referrals is another, and then actually being able to satisfy the customer's need when they show up. So for some of us shops out here who have a 2-bay or have a 3-bay or a 1-bay or a 4-bay, once you have 4 jobs in your bays and they're not quick jobs, it becomes very difficult for you to deliver service to the customer who needs a tire plug or an oil change right away. So we're just going to use those as examples, right? Really important services to the customer at that point in time, but really not a priority to the shop who has every bay full waiting. And necessarily we don't want our employees working outside because one, we can't do the job properly. One, we're not checking the car thoroughly. And it's just a position I choose not to put my employees in. And if you drive into like Camden or something like that near us, they have their mechanics working outside in the cold, in the rain, in the snow. We just don't do that at my shop, and I won't do it. You know, if it's a nice day and the car's able to be serviced outside, it's a nice warm day, and I have the available staff, I will put cars behind the bays for underhood or light interior work, and maybe even an easy brake job on a small vehicle. We will not of that size without having the proper safety equipment to do it. So that would be a no. And people do show up. Hey, can you plug my tire? Can you change the oil? No. But for light trucks and passenger cars, if I have the staff to accommodate that customer, we will. And I just drove by a old Midas Marlton Pike packed. I'm passing Goodyear now. That's completely dead. 3 cars. 2, 4, 6, 8 bay shop here. Meineke had 7 bays. We had Just Tires up the road that had 1 car, and I think they have 6 or 8 bays. And then the new Midas shop had 2 cars and like 10 bays. So kind of weird scenario of what's going on in this area. And there's a lot of shops. The Honda service department seemed like they were busy with their 8 a.m. oil changes. It was a bunch of people my age in there. There was no younger generation in there. But back to what I was talking about, you know, it's very hard for smaller shops to deliver the customer the service they expect and need, and say, like, this 2-bay gas station, right? And say he's got 1 mechanic on, he has 1 car in a bay, cars waiting. If someone pulls in real quick and says, hey, I need a quick oil change, or like a quick tire plug or a quick light bulb, one guy is just not going to be able to deliver that service. And typically most gas stations of that nature have 1 or 2 people in it. And if he's lucky to have 2 people in a 2-bay shop. Most really good mechanics that are experienced can manage 2 bays by themselves all day long. And I actually had a gap in employment where I was the only technician in the shop for probably a month or 2, and I'm running 4 bays myself, and we didn't miss a beat in our sales volume. So it's hard for the smaller shops to really deliver that service to a customer. And then when a customer rolls up to a place and they see cars in the bays and cars in the parking lot, I don't know what their expectations truly are for service. Like, hey, I need a quick oil change. And then you say, I'm sorry, sir, every bay's full. If you leave it with us, we'll we'll take care of it for you. And then they get pissed off and drive away. You offer an appointment and they never show up. So we say, hey, we can't get to it right now. Leave it with us. We'll get to it. We promise today. We just can't say when. And then most people who aren't our regular customers just grab their keys and roll. Same thing for like a tire problem. We're not even going to say tire plug, because everyone who comes into our store with a flat tire says they need a tire plug, bald tire, cords hanging out of it, drove 10 miles or 100 miles on it on a flat tire, and they just need a tire plug. If I get the opportunity to actually check that tire properly, we will advise them from there. But typically, they don't want to drop their car off or leave it. Sometimes we just can't accommodate. And then the days that your bays are completely empty for hours, right? And you could service those customers or those vehicle needs, no one shows up. It's the dice that only has two sides, in my opinion, sometimes for me. It's you're waiting around for work to do, and you would love to look at tire problems and do some oil changes and run some traffic and take a look at some cars, and then they don't show up. And then when the shop's busy, you're behind on jobs, you're waiting for parts, there's issues in the bays, there are other cars that come in, you have equipment failure, and then those customers show up and the phone rings off the hook for the smaller jobs that you just can't get to right away because you're busy with other work. So it's very, very difficult for a shop that's smaller to truly accommodate everyone's needs. Now, if you have an 8 or 10 bay shop, it's possible you could push your employees. If they have 4 bays full, or just say you're 50% full, and you don't have anything waiting, that you might be able to push an employee to go outside of his limitations and bring in another car and hope that he doesn't screw up the job or jobs he's working on because he got distracted with a customer who had to have an emergency oil change or a tire plug or something like that, right? So I don't know if it's just me that experiences this, but every time we offer a simple solution to someone who drives up and says, hey, I don't have a ride, I don't have anyone to help me, I can't call an Uber or Lyft or all this stuff, we try to overcome all the objections, and it's still not good enough, and they just drive away. How do you recoup that? You can't. And then when you go and do that for somebody, and this is my experience, when you go and do that for somebody who's not a regular customer, who doesn't come there all the time, and the next time that they show up, and then you're busy, and you don't accommodate, they get pissed off because you delivered that service one time to them, even though that service should not have been delivered to that customer. You did deliver it, and then the next time they show up, and we're going to just use an example, I just need a quick oil change. Now they're not happy because you can't, right? And then if you make them wait, you say, yeah, well, you can hang out and wait if you want, but we don't know. And then after an hour or two of them waiting, right, then you start processing the cars that were there before them. Now they get pissed off because you didn't get to their car and they're waiting there. Well, there was other people in line before you. Just because their bodies aren't present doesn't mean that I shouldn't deliver them the service that I promised for those customers. And what I mean by that is if they drop the car off, I'm going to say, hey, you dropped your car off now, you're in line, and I will get to your car as soon as the next lift's available. And then once I start processing, once bays start opening and say I'm 3 deep, so we have 4 bays, we're 3 deep in cars that are almost finished, and then we have 1 that's still stuck. So as those bays empty, right, and there's no problems with the work or issue after a road test or something, because that does happen too, problems that we can unforesee. This is small bay, small footprint bay shops that once that bay is open, and usually I'm the lead tech for diagnostics and evaluations, I will grab the next 2 or 3 cars, regardless if there's a customer waiting for an oil change or a wiper blade or a light bulb or anything like that. I have to deliver the promise that I promised to those customers that I will get to your car today. I will have an answer for you today. And if you agree to it and it's not something that we can't obtain parts for, I promise I will have your car finished for you today. As long as you don't string me out until 4 o'clock and say, go ahead and go do a $2,000 job, or, a front and rear brake job at 4:30 when we close at 5 and we don't have all the parts in stock. And we had that happen too. So, very hard for the, bay management for people out there. So, when I look at these bays out here and I say, well, why is one shop busier than another? I can't answer that. I really don't truly know what makes that happen. You know, when you have a shop, and I'm just going to say like a Jiffy Lube, right? We're just going to use Jiffy Lube. That can deliver you that instant service because that's their business program and model, right? You pull up and they can process, in most cases, if it's a newer building, 4-6 drive-in quick oil changes at a time. Now, the maintenance and repair aspects of that, you know, change everything. If a customer says, hey, go ahead, do, you know, the $1,000 worth of maintenance or do 4 tires, and say they have 4 bays of that go on at the same time, they're screwed on trying to deliver a quick lube service to the next customers who are waiting. So we're going to drive by a Mr. Tire right now, and I'm just going to give you an example of you know what I see driving around. Now, Mr. Tire has 8 bays and they have 3 cars. 8 bays and 3 cars. Now we're going to pass an old Midas on Haddonfield Road that I can't see the Pep Boys service department, that I used to manage. But Midas on Haddonfield Road is slammed. So old Midas slammed, and here's Monroe. Next to this building here as Midas, you can walk 25 feet. No customers nowhere. Midas is overflowing with cars. Why is that? Does it make any sense? For me, if I was looking for a quick oil change and I wasn't loyal to the brand, I'd drive right over to Monroe and be in and out in 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. But it doesn't make any sense. So does getting to your car right away a priority? You know, when you pull into a shop like Midas right there and they're packed, right? Packed across from the Cherry Hill Mall, and Monroe is dead, and you just drove by Monroe coming from one direction, you're going to walk into Midas and say, well, how long for my oil change? You're going to say, well, it's going to be like 3 hours. And then this store that's 25 feet next door that probably does the oil change for the same price or less has no cars in it, and no one went there. That's what boggles me. And you can't say that it's brand loyalty, because I will tell you, I would doubt that every car that's at Midas right now is all loyal customers. That, you know, I would say that for a fact. I manage that place. I know how explosive and volatile it can be, and that's a 7-bay shop, Midas. But Monroe, right next door, king of cheap oil changes, not a car on the parking lot. Mr. Tire, 8-bay shop with 3 cars. You know, they can handle 7 jobs. 7 quick jobs or 6 quick jobs, you know, so it doesn't make any sense to me. And I just am curious of how they're reaching those customers to get them and brainwash them to sit and wait hours for an oil change. Because I know they're not the biggest repair shop around. I see some of their overflow work for the heavier jobs and the jobs that they don't know how to do, and I'm not throwing stones. Especially when it comes to exhaust systems and fabrication work. They don't have anyone that can do that stuff. So it's hard to deliver. It's hard to deliver that. You know, when you have a big shop, you can deliver those systems, you know. And, you know, for a 4-bay shop, you know, our sales volume, we're not talking vehicle volume, is equal to these 8 and 10-bay shops, even in our DMA. And that doesn't happen by accident, you know. It's not that my brake job is 3 times more than another Midas or Meineke services. You know, my labor rate is less than those, so, you know, my volume is less, but we do more bigger repair work and jobs. So, but, you know, we pride ourselves for us to get a car in and out of the shop. I don't want the parking lot overflowing with cars. I don't want it to look like a junkyard when a customer comes up and says, can you fix my car today? And they're not asking how much before I look at it. I'm ready to rock and roll as long as you're ready to pay for the job when I'm finished. You know, that's my goal. Like, you're ready to get your car fixed. I'm ready to fix your car and get paid. You know, but I see these shops that just have piles and piles of cars just sitting and sitting and sitting. And what does the customer think when they pull on the lot? Oh, he's going to get to my car today, and then a week goes by, still didn't get to the car, and then a week goes by, still didn't get to the car, and you know, that doesn't go on at my shop. So I don't have an explanation there on why that's that way. You can't tell me that they have 20 or 30 customers that don't want to fix their car, or those cars can't be repaired because parts aren't available. Well, I'm in the same business, and I don't have that problem with my lot, especially when it's the same cars over and over again. So, you know, we really prioritize your car's here, we're ready to work. We're not ready to let it sit on the parking lot for 3-4 weeks before we get to it. And I was at the gas station at Wawa in St. Vincent in my Monte Carlo, and actually do service for one of the gas station attendants who was going to a competitor of ours, and he was so impressed with, came in, got it fixed the same day and out on a Saturday. And we're only open for a few hours on Saturday. Like, just blew his mind that he could just roll right in, get his car fixed, multiple issues, not getting all corrected. So then he's talking to one of the gas attendants there, and he says, hey, this is my mechanic, and these guys are fantastic. And he's like, hey, my car's been over at a shop in Philly for an ABS control module or ABS unit. I'm like, yeah, what's up? And he's like, I said, what year is it? And he's like, it's 2000 something, 2010. I'm like, yeah. He goes, how long should that job take? I'm like, a few hours. He's like, are you kidding me? I said, no, why? What's up? He goes, my car's been at a shop in Philly for 3 months for this. You're not priority to that guy. 0 priority. I said, get your car out, give me the approval. I'll get the part the same day, if not the next day, used in most cases. And if that part's good, you'll have your car back the next day. He goes, it's that easy? I said, it's not just that easy. That's how we do business here, and that's how you should be treated as a customer. Not calling every week and saying, why is my car sitting there? Why is my car sitting there? Why your battery's going dead? Why the gas in your gas tank's going stale? As your tire gets a slow leak, as your brakes are rusting and seizing together. Like, look at all the things that happen. Not only that, the vandalism or theft, or someone steals your catalytic converter because your car's just been sitting and sitting and sitting. So your car sitting isn't good. And as I come to my shop, and I have no new work at my shop. Does it make any sense? I don't have an answer. I really don't have an answer. It's not that Midas is getting all the work. We're going to drive by Pep Boys. It would appear that two Midases are getting a lot of work for some reason or another. I will tell you, I'm sure that is lots of targeted marketing for oil changes, and then they're going to try and upsell the customer from there. It just doesn't make any sense, but that would be my guess. Their marketing for this time of year must be fantastic. And like I said, the new Midas was dead out of 10 or 12 bays. So Pep Boys has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 bays, and they have 3 cars. So Pep Boys by me, which is a super center, right? 12 bays, has 3 cars. Weird, right? Completely weird. So, and they're the ones that'll tell you have to drop your car off for an oil change, even though they have 12 bays and 3 bays are there, unless they don't have any mechanics, and then they can only push their mechanics so far, and I can only push my mechanics so far. But to run them around for oil changes and tire rotations when there's other things to do is catastrophic, and it's probably catastrophic too for now that customer doesn't want to use you because you can't deliver their expectations. I mean, it's a double-edged sword for sure, but you got to commend these smaller shops out here for getting things done, and and multitasking. And then I have other shops that send work to me, the sublet, because I can get it in and I can process it, right? So while they're working on other things in their bays, whatever it is, they'll send me the car. I'll process the whole job, and including oil change. I'll process the whole job, and then they'll put their oil change sticker on it, and the customer has no idea what happened other than that 2-bay or 1-bay shop or whatever smaller shop delivered what they told that customer. Hey, I'm going to get your car done today for you. Customer didn't know that they didn't do the job. I did the job. But delivering that experience, trying not to lose that customer, and sometimes you're going to lose a customer because you just can't deliver that service. It's just the way it is. All right, if anybody else can relate, message me. I want to hear about it. Thanks for watching.